Is the American dream on life support? Let's talk about it. In this video, we will discuss if the American dream is really still real for people and how the dream may be shifting if you're a Black woman who's looking to move abroad. But first, hey girl, hey, my name is Tanisha Mercer. I help Black women solo travel and move abroad. If any of that sounds like you, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. I am joining you from lovely Istanbul, Turkey. I took a quick break here. I had to get out of Paris, y'all. It was just, I promise you, winter is wintering there, okay? And it just doesn't feel like spring is coming. Like it's a few days of warm weather. Next thing you know, we're wearing jackets and wool scarves again. It's gray, it's cold, it's miserable. It is about 90 degrees here. It is a nice breeze. The sun is shining. I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying the sun on my melanin. I needed this break. I'm going back in a few days. So it's not long enough, but just enough for me to kind of get me some vitamin D, okay? But we're not talking about Istanbul today. We're going to talk about the American dream. And it is definitely a bit ironic that I'm having this conversation on the balcony here in Istanbul. But I think, you know, it's a conversation that needs to be had. This video, I have been talking about this particular subject to people recently. And I think the American dream, you know, the question becomes, is it on life support? Do people still even believe in it? Do these younger folks believe in it? In terms of younger, I'm talking about Generation Z, the millennials, we're Generation X. Do we even still believe in it? Are we a little bit disenchanted? Were we sold a bill of goods and now we're realizing that perhaps the American dream is different? So for me, I can only talk about myself in terms of some of my opinions on this topic. For me personally, I think that these younger folks, you know, these 20-year-olds, the Zennials or whatever you want to call them, the Generation Z, they are not, listen, they have seen us, their parents, right? And they've seen how hard we have worked, and they have basically been like, no ma'am and no sir, we don't want any part of that. They've seen us get laid off. They've seen us lose jobs. They've seen the recession. They have seen the housing markets implode. They are seeing the housing market, like right now, it's almost like if you're trying to buy, you have to almost be a trust fund baby or have a whole lot of money in the bank, or I don't know. A lot of young folks, they're putting off the dream of home ownership, and not just young people, old people too, right? Older people too. The way this market is set up, it's set up in a way that housing prices, if you are trying to get in now, if you already are, you know, already in the market, it's a little different. If you're trying to sell, you know, not bad. But if you are trying to buy, it is difficult, especially as a first-time home buyer. It's to the point that a lot of these young folks are they're not even thinking about housing. And I'm talking to my kids. My kids are, I mean, they're not kids. They're in their mid-20s. And they are just like, I've got one who wants to buy, but it's not a good time financially in terms of looking at down payment and things like that. It would be an extreme sacrifice. My other two are just like, yeah, they don't even want to buy right now. It just, to them, it just seems out of reach. And I hate that. I hate that for us all. So, but the American dream, I think that the American dream is something that it's like heavy side. And this video is inspired by YouTuber Alicia Renee. I will link to her channel in the comments, but she asked a question a while ago. Is the American dream, like, is it dead? And I think, I don't have a good answer for that. I think for a lot of people, the American dream isn't what we thought. We thought the American dream was the house and the picket fence, right? And a lot of people are finding out that their house may not be a dream, but it could be a nightmare. depending upon your circumstance, it may be a nightmare if you're trying to buy. It may be a nightmare if you are trying to qualify for a mortgage, right? So I think it just depends. I mean, what is happening now with the economy, with people, you know, just things that should be luxuries really aren't. You know, you're seeing a lot of videos about people who their mortgage prices are going up due to higher taxes, higher insurance, and their mortgage payments are going up by hundreds and sometimes more than $1,000 per month. That is a lot of times, you know, that is not sustainable. You're seeing food prices in the US. They are just, I mean, they have been inflated for a couple of years now. People are having a hard time just eating. And it's one of those things of where if you're having a hard time buying groceries, you are in survival mode, right? You can't think about tomorrow because you are trying to survive for the day. So for many people, the American dream is something that it's been altered, right? It is not the same as when we were younger. It's just not. And I hate to even have that conversation with my children because it is not the same. It's nowhere near the same. So is the American dream, is it on life support? Is it limited to a select group of people? Like, what's really going on? I know we are definitely seeing more Black women moving abroad. I moved abroad in 2023, officially in 2023, but I actually had, I want to say unofficially moved abroad in the summer of 2022. Okay, so it's been a couple of years that I have lived this lifestyle, and I promise you, once you get out the matrix that is the US, your perspective really does change. And it changes because you are now in a different place. You can see how much the focus on work and capitalism, and no one does it better than the US. No one does it better than the US. So we're seeing just institutions crumbling. We're seeing job losses. Google just raked through their cloud division a lot of job cuts. We're seeing all these major tech companies laying off. I myself was a victim of a job cut in February. My previous employer just heard from a former colleague, and they're going through it, another round, right? We're seeing tech companies that have overhired, or we're seeing companies who are using layoffs as part of their growth strategy. As bad as that sounds, you think about it, you know, you're in certain industries, you're probably making six figures. Imagine if the company that you're working for, you know, laying you off is a part of their growth strategy. We forget that a lot of these companies make record profits not even a couple of years ago. They're still making record profits, okay? These layoffs are not, in a lot of cases, are not happening because companies are not profitable. And that's what I mean by layoffs being a part of their growth strategy. This isn't the economy is you know, our profits are bad. These companies who are laying off are having record-breaking profits, y'all. Record-breaking profits. And they are laying off people left and right. I know for me, you know, for those of you who follow me on this channel, you know that I moved to Paris in January 2023. I have found that my expenses have gone down so much, 40 to 60%. It is how I'm able to survive here, okay? I know that going back to the US, and I did consider it, going back to the US would be an immediate hit to my budget. First of all, I would have to get health insurance, right? The amount that I'm paying for a year is probably what I would pay for like 2 months in the US, and that's if I'm lucky. So it is so very different for me, and I think many other people, and you just get caught up. You know, things are expensive. I was having a conversation with someone here today in Istanbul, and they were asking me why I liked France so much. And I was telling them that it allows me to live so much cheaper. Things are cheaper. And they're like, well, isn't America where you make money? And I said, yes, you make money in America, but you also spend it, and you have to work so hard for it. I think a lot of these kids they're not willing to do that, in terms of, not saying they're not willing to work hard, but they are not willing to sacrifice everything and then come back with nothing. They see these layoffs. They see how these corporations are treating us and them, right? They're seeing that. And so they are the brave ones. And the reason why I call them the brave ones is because they're not willing to settle. They're young. They're not willing to settle. They're willing to create their own reality. And so I think for a lot of people, the American dream is definitely changing. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a U.S. citizen, right? I can go back tomorrow if I wanted to, okay? And I love that I have the ability to go back if I want to. But for right now, for me and my wallet, Europe offers, you know, the best for me right now. Just living abroad offers the best opportunities for me, because it is something to where you know, my USD stretches so much further here than it could there. And so we're seeing, I mean, you think about it. I moved from Atlanta, y'all. At one point, a 2-bedroom apartment in Atlanta, the average price was about $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month. Atlanta used to be the place where people would move for dirt cheap rent. I moved there in 2006. When I moved there, you can get a nice apartment for next to nothing. I think our first apartment was like $800 a month for a 3-bedroom townhome in Jonesboro, South Side, okay, near the airport, not far from the airport. I think that apartment, probably that 3-bedroom townhouse, is probably like double that now. It's double it or close to double it, okay? So it is affecting people's wallets, and people are having to do Uber, Lyft, and a full-time job to make it. They're having to do 2 and 3 jobs. A 1-income household is almost, with the price of inflation, with the prices that these companies are doing, what these companies are doing on these consumer products should be criminal. What companies are doing to the housing market, the corporate housing market, the housing market is being dismantled by largely corporations, not by your individual buyers. So these things should be criminal, because what they're doing is the little guys being affected. The little guys being affected. So it causes people to wonder, like, okay, and I know I've had this conversation in my head, like, what am I coming back to? If I were to come back home, what am I coming back to right now? I'm coming back to record prices. I'm coming back to higher price everything than when I left. Okay, nothing is the same. Nothing is the same. So what am I coming back to? I've had this conversation in my own head, right? And can I survive on X amount? I'm not making X amount that I used to make. Can I survive on this amount? Can the amount that I saved for this move abroad, how long will that last me? It can last me a year, right? Maybe 2, right? Maybe a couple of years, depending upon how much I've got saved. That same amount of money does not go far in the US. I'm talking about maybe 6 months, maybe 6 months. So it is definitely something to think about. I think we're all asking ourselves the question, is the American dream on life support? Do we still choose to participate? I got the best advice some years back, and I was told to make your money in the US and spend it elsewhere. Spend it elsewhere. And that I had followed that advice. I have made my money in the US and I spend it elsewhere. I spend it abroad. And that is how I've been able to kind of stretch things. But yeah, I'm joining the US. I mentioned in lovely Istanbul, Turkey. And this conversation is just, it's insane that we're even thinking about it and even having it. It's not insane, but it's a conversation that needs to happen, that we all have to ask ourselves. I know that I have asked myself, is the American dream still alive? Am I still participating in it? What is my role? I'm moving abroad. I've moved, either I'm moving abroad or I've moved abroad or I want to move abroad. So where do you kind of fit in? Let me know in the comments where you are with it. Are you still a believer in the American dream? Are you disgruntled? Are you not a believer in it as much? And do you still believe in it, especially if you plan to move abroad? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to share, like, and comment on this video. If you have not subscribed, make sure you do. You can also support my channel by a donation. It's in the description of this video, buymeacoffee.com. And don't forget to join me on Sunday, 12 noon Eastern. On this channel, we're going to talk moving abroad. We'll be talking about it every Sunday, 12 noon. Join me live. I will talk to you guys later. Until the next video.